Welcome to A21's Global Freedom Summit. We're so glad you're here, whether you're tuning in from a living room, a church, a corporate boardroom, or a community hall. This isn't just a broadcast. It's a moment where people from all walks of life and corners of the world are coming together, united by a shared conviction. What brings us together isn't geography, it's urgency, because there's a growing danger facing children today, one that's often hidden, digital, and deeply personal. And while it can feel confronting, we believe the worst thing we can do is look away.
That threat is online child exploitation. It's not confined to one region or one platform. It's evolving every day, preying on vulnerability and operating in the very spaces where young people are meant to feel safe. But this moment isn't about fear. It's about the hope with action. It's about what's possible when we choose to face the truth and respond with purpose.
Today isn't an awareness campaign, it's a call to informed, strategic action. You'll hear from survivors and frontline experts, from technology companies and policy voices, from those who've lived through it and those working to end it. And through it all, we'll show you something essential. This crisis is not insurmountable, but it is our responsibility.
Because when individuals, families, institutions, and yes, movements are equipped with clarity and courage, change doesn't just happen, it accelerates.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of a future that doesn't settle for silence. To begin, we're hearing from someone who has carried this cause forward with fierce conviction and global impact. She's the co-founder of A21. Please welcome Christine Caine.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine Caine, and I'm so glad you're here for A21's Global Freedom Summit. Whether this is your first time engaging with this topic or you've been with us for years, thank you. Today, we're confronting a crisis that often goes unseen: online child exploitation. It's a hidden epidemic happening every day, and it's targeting the most vulnerable among us, our children. Online child exploitation is escalating at an alarming rate. In just the past few years, reports of online abuse have surged by more than 300%. Recently, a parent in Australia discovered their child was being groomed online. But because they'd been through A21's training, they recognized the signs and stepped in before it was too late. But this isn't just an Australian issue. It's a global epidemic. Every day, in every corner of the world, children are being exploited online. Most of these crimes go unseen, but their impact is devastating, tearing families apart and leaving lasting trauma. That's why we're here. We're not just raising awareness, we're equipping you with practical tools to stop this before it starts. Because when we understand the risk, we can take action. And together, we can protect children from the harm that so often begins with just one message on a screen. Please don't feel overwhelmed. The truth is, each one of us can do something. This isn't just an event, it's a movement, and your presence here matters for the kids who need protecting, the families counting on us, and the future we're building together. Let's make this our count.
This isn't just a crisis to be acknowledged, it's a mandate for transformation. And at A21, that transformation is driven by a clear global strategy. It's a strategy that's been shaped over time through deep listening, cross-sector collaboration, and lived experience in the field. Nick Caine, A21's co-founder and CEO, has been there from the beginning. For nearly 2 decades, he's helped lay the groundwork, guiding our global teams, building trusted partnerships, and ensuring that our response is both human and scalable. Here's Nick with more on who we are and how A21 is working to end human trafficking in practical, systematic, and lasting ways.
Every day, millions of people are trapped in the darkness of human trafficking, a crime fueled by vulnerability, exploitation, and silence. It's a global crisis hiding in plain sight, but behind every statistic is a real person. Some were born into it, others were tricked, coerced, or deceived into it. But all are searching for something better, only to have their dreams exploited and their freedom stolen. Here at A21, we have hope in the midst of this horrific reality. We know that breaking the cycle of human trafficking is possible because we've seen it work for nearly 2 decades. Working in more than 20 countries, Our approach is to address human trafficking at every level. We reach communities through prevention, awareness and education. We recover victims in partnership with law enforcement, securing freedom and bringing traffickers to justice. We restore survivors through holistic aftercare, walking with them as they heal, rebuild and begin again. This is how the cycle is broken. It's one life at a time. We know how to end the cycle of human trafficking, and with your help, we will. Join the fight. Make freedom a reality, and together, let's abolish slavery everywhere, forever.
Thank you, Nick. What you've just shared clearly shows how A21 is responding with focus, collaboration, and impact on a global scale. But behind every system and solution lies the reason we exist, the lives we are here to protect. What you're about to see is not fiction, it's grounded in real events reflecting a child whose vulnerability was exploited, whose silence was mistaken for safety, and whose story is tragically echoed in too many others. What you're about to see may be difficult, but we choose not to look away because facing what's uncomfortable is often where real change begins.
Sorry.
So, test papers from last week. Some of them good, some of them not so good. I think we all need to improve before the real thing in a couple of weeks. Thank you. That was excellent. That was all right. Have a look at comments on there. That needs work, as does that. That was okay. Nelson, I don't know what's going on here. Can you see me after the lesson, please? That was excellent. Good. Comments on that. I think that needs work. That was excellent. Okay, so characterisation and criticism for next week, please. Everyone. Nelson. Nelson.
You have one job. Goalkeeper. Pretty stuck in the net. Joel.
Far too many children are living through this kind of exploitation every single day. While the story was dramatized, the heartbreak is real. The boy it was based on tragically took his own life after being targeted online. There were no visible signs. His parents believed everything was fine. That's why we're here. Because when exploitation hides in plain sight, awareness becomes our first line of defense. No child should feel isolated in their suffering, and no parent should be left in the dark. The more we understand what these threats look like, the more clearly we see the signs, the more equipped we are to intervene before it's too late. To help us grasp the scope of this crisis and the systems rising to meet it, we're turning to someone with deep frontline experience. Belinda Swan is a Partnerships Program Manager at the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, an organisation that's been leading the charge for over 40 years, working alongside the US Justice Department, federal law enforcement and NGOs like A21. NCMEC plays a critical role in prevention and protection. Belinda brings vital perspective to this conversation, and here she is.
Online child sexual exploitation is one of the most urgent and fast-evolving threats to children around the world. At NCMEC, we've seen explosive growth in reports of online child sexual exploitation. Through our operation of the Cyber Tip Line, the centralized mechanism in the US for reporting these crimes, we have a unique vantage point to identify emerging dangers. Last year, we received a staggering 20.5 million reports, most involving child sexual abuse material shared online. These are explicit photos and videos that document unimaginable harm to children. A total of 84% of these cases trace back to other countries. The internet has no borders. Today, I want to highlight an especially alarming crime we began tracking in 2022, financial sextortion. Offenders target teens, mostly boys, but some girls, on social media and gaming platforms. They pose as attractive peers using fake or AI-generated profiles, gain trust through flattery and attention, and eventually pressure victims to share explicit images. Once they have those images, the threats begin. They demand money, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And if the teen refuses, they threaten to send the images to friends, family, and classmates. They make victims feel ashamed, alone, and utterly trapped. Financial sextortion can cause intense emotional distress in a very short time. NCMEC is aware of at least 36 teenage boys who have died by suicide after being targeted this way. Recent international reports show that suicide rates among teens, especially boys, are rising sharply. Online exploitation, including financial sextortion, is increasingly cited as a contributing factor. The scale and speed of this crisis demands urgent attention. That's why organizations like NCMEC and A21 are in this fight, working across sectors and borders to raise awareness, support survivors, educate families, and prevent these crimes before they happen. When we first began tracking financial sextortion in 2022, our Cyber Tip Line received just over 10,000 reports. That number more than doubled in 2023, and this year it has already surpassed 33,000. These are not abstract numbers. They represent real children, real families, real trauma. We often hear, "My kid's too smart to fall for this," but the truth is, any child can be targeted. To help, NCMEC has created No Escape Room, an interactive video that shows just how quickly sextortion can happen, and NetSmarts with age-appropriate tools to help kids stay safer online. Both are available at ncmic.org. If a child is targeted, don't pay. Tell a parent or someone you trust. Report the account to the platform, to law enforcement, and to cybertipline.org. Block the person, but don't delete your messages or account. They're important evidence. And if a nude image has been shared, visit Take It Down at ncmic.org. We can help remove it from the internet. We know how overwhelming this can feel, but no one needs to face it alone. We're here to help. And together, with parents, teachers, law enforcement, and organizations like A21, we can stand against this growing threat and protect children around the world.
Thank you, Belinda. What you've just shared is sobering but vital. It reveals how rapidly this crisis is escalating and the devastating toll it can take on children and families. But it also shows us something deeply important, that early awareness, trusted relationships, and strong support systems can make all the difference. Our next guest is Melissa Moore, who works on the youth safety team at Meta. The work done by Melissa and her extensive team of colleagues at Meta shape how some of the world's most widely used platforms like Facebook and Instagram protect young users from harm. She works at the intersection of technology, human rights, and safety, partnering with NGOs like A21, policymakers, and survivor advocates to build tools that don't just respond to harm, but help prevent it. Here's Melissa with a closer look at how technology can be part of the solution.
Keeping young people safe on our platforms has been a top priority for Meta for over a decade. Our approach to keeping people safe focuses on 5 pillars: policies, partnerships, safety tools, resources, and feedback. First, from a policy perspective, we don't allow content or behavior that exploits children, or content that facilitates or coordinates human trafficking. We have strict policies against not only child sexual abuse material, but also against the sexualization of minors and other activities that can lead to child exploitation. Second, partnerships are absolutely critical. Keeping children safe requires all of us to work together. No one platform or stakeholder can do this alone. That's why we work closely with over 400 safety experts around the globe, including the Meta Safety Advisory Council, which is composed of leading internet safety organizations from around the world, who provide their expertise on issues related to online safety, especially with regard to children. We also collaborate with other tech companies through Lantern, a program from the Tech Coalition that enables tech companies to share signals about predatory accounts and behaviors that violate their child safety policies. This is incredibly important because we know that predators don't limit themselves to any one platform, so we need to work together to tackle this. Another important way we work with partners is by launching educational awareness campaigns. Together with A21, we launched a child trafficking prevention and awareness campaign called Break Free to Fly. This campaign used immersive storytelling and VR to reach millions with a message of hope and action. Last year, we also launched an Instagram campaign to raise awareness for teens and parents about sextortion, what it is, how to spot it, and what steps to take if it happens. The third pillar of our work focuses on safety tools. We recently introduced teen accounts, a new experience for teens guided by parents. Teen accounts have built-in protections that limit who can contact teens and the content they see, and help ensure their time is well spent. Teen accounts are private by default, so only followers teens approve can see or interact with their content. Teens are also defaulted into the strictest messaging settings, so they can only be messaged by people they're already connected to. We have also launched a nudity protection feature, which is on by default for teens under 18, and teens under 16 need a parent's permission to turn off. Nudity protection blurs images detected as containing nudity in Instagram DMs, lets people know they shouldn't feel pressure to respond, and encourages people to think twice when sending these images. The fourth pillar we focus on is resources. At the heart of our work to support parents and guardians is Family Center, a central place for parents and guardians to access and learn about our parental supervision tools and find resources from leading experts. Our final pillar is feedback. At Meta, we've spent years developing tools and technology to help fight online abuse and help protect young people online. But we all know this is an adversarial space where people trying to do harm may try to get around these protections. That's why it's so important to work together with expert organizations, tech companies, and parents, so we have ongoing feedback to keep young people safe online.
We've just heard how platforms like Meta are harnessing technology, policy, and partnerships to safeguard young people online, working tirelessly to detect harm before it spreads and to ensure that safety is woven into every part of the digital experience. But behind every system and every safeguard is the human story, the lives affected, and the strength it takes to overcome. To truly grasp the urgency of this crisis and the profound strength it takes to overcome it, we must listen to the voices of those who have lived through its darkest chapters. Leah Albright Byrd is a survivor of child sexual exploitation, yet her story is not simply one of survival. It is one of extraordinary transformation. Today, Leah is a wife, a mother, a globally respected advocate, and a courageous voice for those who've experienced exploitation, working with communities and organizations around the world to educate, equip, and inspire change. Her voice reminds us of what's truly at stake and what becomes possible when someone chooses not just to survive, but to lead. Here's Leah.
Thank you, Shayoon. I'm Leah Albright Byrd, and I'm here today because I believe something simple yet profound. Every child deserves to be safe, to dream, to play, to grow up unafraid. My story is one of survival and redemption. I was trafficked as a teenager, deceived by someone who made me feel seen, wanted, loved. And that's the part I want us to sit with for a moment. Because the truth is, what led me there wasn't weakness, it was longing. A longing for connection, for safety, for a place to belong. And that's not unique to me. That's all of us. Every one of us, in some way, carries wounds of abandonment, of loneliness, of not being enough. And in those quiet spaces of pain, we search. We search for love, for belonging, for meaning. Traffickers know this, and they exploit it. They step into those cracks with promises that feel like hope until they're not. We all began life with open hearts, with trust, with wonder. That same vulnerability, the beautiful, tender openness of childhood is what traffickers prey on. And that's what makes this issue not just heartbreaking, but deeply unjust. Because it's not just a violation of safety, it's a violation of hope, of innocence, of the belief that the world is good. Today, predators don't have to be on the street corner. They're on apps, in games, in the places where children should feel safe. And they're reaching in faster than ever before. In some countries, as many as 1 in 4 children have experienced some form of online abuse, including sexual exploitation. And 1 in 7 minors have been asked for nudes online by a stranger, daily or weekly. And in the last 20 years, reports of child sexual abuse material have increased by over 19,000%. And what makes this even more devastating is that for some children, this isn't just grooming, it's survival. It's poverty, it's family trauma, it's systems that failed. It's children who've never known stability, being handed something that looks like love even when it's not. That's why the work of A21 is urgent, because this isn't just about fighting darkness. It's about restoring light, about reaching people before traffickers do, about standing in the gap with truth, with love, with protection. To parents watching, please talk to your children. Make safety a conversation, not a warning. Let them know they can always come to you without fear or shame. To every young person hearing this, you are not alone. You are not the sum of what's happened to you. You deserve real love, real safety, and your life has unshakable value. And to all of us, let's stop looking away. Let's rise as a generation that refuses to accept the exploitation of the vulnerable as a fact of life. Together, we can build a world where innocence is not seen as weakness, but as something sacred, where the need to belong is answered not with harm, but with healing. Let's be the ones who saw the truth and acted.
Thank you, Leah. What you just shared is both powerful and deeply personal. Your story reminds us that this isn't theoretical. It's not distant, it's real, and it's happening now. You reminded us that traffickers don't just exploit systems, they exploit human needs. But you also showed us the courage it takes to stop them. At A21, that's why prevention and education are at the heart of our mission, and recently, they made all the difference for one student who recognized the signs of grooming just in time. To walk us through what happened next is Dr. Rhiannon Dubois, our Director of Aftercare. This reenactment is based on real events, and it's a powerful reminder of what's possible when knowledge, training, and support systems come together at exactly the right moment.
An accused human trafficker is behind bars tonight. Experts say it takes predators just 8 minutes to form a bond with a child.
Hello, this is the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Madam, I needed to remain calm.
I never thought it would be me. But it was.
It used to be that the greatest risks to our children were outside, in unfamiliar places, with unfamiliar people. But now, the danger has moved inside, into bedrooms, living rooms, into the places we once considered safe. Today's playgrounds are digital. They exist in gaming apps, group chats, and social feeds. This is where kids spend their time. This is where strangers gain access. And this is where exploitation begins. Quietly, invisibly, behind screens.
An accused human trafficker is behind bars tonight thanks to a high school student who courageously spoke up.
A harrowing story here in Grant, a student at Grant High School behind me telling the school's resource officer that she didn't feel quite right about a situation. That singular conversation led to the arrest of a man at the airport.
And recently, one of our high school students attended one of the workshops and talked about it in one of their classes and realized, hey, something doesn't seem right. Something that I'm receiving online doesn't seem right.
We had a 16-year-old girl came forward after having one of the human trafficking lessons, digital safety lessons that was taught. And she became aware that she was a trafficking victim. And she went and she talked to a school counselor and then who got a hold of our school resource officers and said, hey, I think I'm being trafficked.
They learned that Lathrop was flying in to see the teenager. When he arrived at Ford International Airport, he was taken into custody. Days later, arraigned on 1 count of sexual abusive activity and 1 count of using a computer to commit a crime.
I was so young, you know? If it hadn't have been for that class at my school, I don't know if I'd be here right now. He lied, he twisted things. I really thought he cared about me. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't have the words. But that class gave me the words. It showed me the truth.
Our student's life was saved, and it's just surreal. It was just amazing. I just believe in this curriculum so much.
The impact of teaching the curriculum happened right away. Just learning those grooming lessons has given our kids the tools and skills to protect themselves.
I knew something wasn't right. Deep down, it felt creepy. Then that class, it opened my eyes. This information saves lives. It saved mine. No one should have to learn the hard way.
This is the reality we're facing now. And that's why prevention, early, honest, intentional prevention, is no longer optional. It's essential.
I think with the technology that we have and how fast it just multiplies apps kids are using, they're savvy and they're doing things and seeing things at such a young age. And I think that a lot of times they get caught up in that. The parents are just unaware of it. And by the time that something does occur, it's too late. And you have a child being hurt or worse.
We would never let our kids go on the playground and play with pedophiles and predators, yet when they're online, they're exposed to strangers from all over the world.
And that's why what we do next, what we choose to do with this knowledge, matters more than ever. At A21, this is part of our mission, to bring prevention where it's needed most, into schools, homes and communities before it's too late. Because when the right information reaches the right person at the right time, it doesn't just change a life, it can save one.
Thank you, Rhiannon. What you've just shared is a sobering reminder. The threats we're confronting aren't far off or abstract, they're immediate. They're in our homes, our schools, our communities. But so too is the opportunity to intervene, to shift that outcome before it's too late. In this instance, a child's life was protected, a predator was stopped. That's what prevention makes possible, but not every story ends that way. Sonia Ryan knows that reality in the most personal way. Her daughter's story began with deception, but what followed sparked national reform, international advocacy, and enduring impact. What Sonia has built since is not only a tribute to her daughter, it's a lifeline for others. This is a story we all need to hear.
My name is Sonia Ryan. I'm Carly's mum. You've just seen a story that ended in hope, a young girl who was rescued before it was too late. But not every child is found in time. In 2007, my daughter Carly was groomed and murdered by an online predator. She was just 15. For over a year, she believed she was speaking to an 18-year-old musician named Brandon, but Brandon was not real. He was a disguise of a 50-year-old man who manipulated and deceived her, then took her life. That moment changed my world forever, but it also gave me a mission. I founded the Carly Ryan Foundation to protect other children and families from online harm. Since 2010, we've delivered thousands of school seminars across Australia, helping students and parents to stay safe online. We also work in advocacy because education alone isn't enough. In 2017, we achieved something historic. Carly's Law was passed into Australia's criminal code, giving law enforcement the power to intervene before a child is harmed, not just after. That law has already saved lives, and it proves that when you change the law, you change outcomes. Policy change is prevention. It gives police the tools to stop predators early, it gives courts the power to prosecute, and it gives children a better chance of growing up safely. That's why I'm so proud to stand alongside A21, an organisation doing incredible work around the world to end human trafficking and protect the vulnerable. A21 knows, just like we do, that real change takes more than just awareness. It takes bold action, brave conversation, and long-term commitment to shifting systems. And we can't do it alone. If you're a parent, talk to your children about who they're speaking to online. If you're a policymaker, listen to the lived experiences, strengthen the laws, fund prevention. If you're part of this global movement, stay with us. Your voice, your influence, your support, it matters. Because the next story could end in freedom, in healing, in life. And that's the legacy I want Carly to leave behind.
Thank you, Sonia. Carly's story is a heartbreaking truth and an urgent warning. But your response has shown us what's possible when courage meets action. Now, the task before us is to move from awareness to application, to equip families, educators, and communities with the clarity and tools they need to act early and act effectively. That's where we turn next. Charlie Blythe, A21's Global Mobilization Director, is here to walk us through the real risks children are facing online and the practical steps every one of us can take to respond. Here's Charlie.
Thanks so much, Christian, and hello to everyone joining us from across the globe. No matter where you are in the world, this issue isn't far away. What we're talking about today isn't distant or abstract. It's real. It's in our homes, in our schools, in the places our children should feel the safest. It's happening on the screens they hold in their hands every single day. And that's why today I want to speak to you practically, because we all have a role to play in protecting children. Now, the internet is an incredible tool. It connects, it educates, it entertains, but it is also where predators look for opportunities. I don't say that to scare you, I say it to prepare you. Because when we understand the risks, we can take steps to protect our kids. So let's start with what you need to know. Online child exploitation can happen in many ways, but most of it starts with trust. A predator builds a connection, often on social media, gaming platforms, or messaging apps, posing as someone friendly, funny, even romantic. From there, it escalates, and bit by bit, that trust is twisted. A predator might start asking for private photos or videos. Then come the threats, the pressure, the blackmail. Sometimes they want control, sometimes money. Sometimes they're trying to get the child to meet in person. And this can all happen faster than you think. That's why we have to be proactive, not reactive. So what can families do? Well, firstly, have ongoing conversations, not one-off talks. Ask your children what apps they're using, who they talk to, and what makes them feel uncomfortable. Let them know they can come to you without fear or punishment. Secondly, set clear digital boundaries. Keep devices out of bedrooms at night. Use parental controls where appropriate. And utilize the privacy settings. They're not just a tech feature. They're a key part of keeping kids safe. Thirdly, learn the warning signs. Secrecy, mood swings, unexplained gifts, sudden online friendships, these actually could be red flags. Don't ignore them and trust your gut. Next, know where to report it. If something feels wrong or unsafe, report it. Most countries have a national helpline, a child protection agency, or police unit for online abuse. You can also use trusted reporting platforms supported by child safety organizations. Lastly, empower your child. Teach them how to say no, how to block and report someone, and most of all, encourage them to speak up when something doesn't feel right. This isn't about creating fear. It's about building confidence and resilience in our children. Now let's talk about something that's catching more and more young people off guard: online job scams. For older teens or even adults, one of the rising threats is fraudulent job opportunities, especially those offering high pay for minimal effort. If you, your child, or someone you know is job hunting, make sure to research the company thoroughly. If a job looks too good to be true, it probably is. And remember, be cautious of vague job descriptions, unverified recruiter profiles, and pressure to share your personal documents too early in the recruitment process. And here's why all this matters. Around the world, we've seen children, some as young as 10, recognize a red flag and ask for help because they'd seen a video, they'd sat through a school presentation, or they'd had a parent who started the conversation early. In one case, it was a teacher who spotted the signs. In another, a sibling who stepped in. And in many cases, it was the child themselves, brave enough to speak up because they knew that wasn't right. This is the power of prevention. It turns awareness into action. It transforms information into intervention. So wherever you are today, I want to leave you with this. Start the conversation. Monitor devices with intention, not fear. Teach your kids to trust their instincts and to trust you. And if you don't know where to begin, A21 is here. You're not alone. We've created tools to guide and support you. But more than that, we want to go on this journey with you. That's why we're inviting you to take the Freedom Pledge. It's a commitment not just to care, but to act. Each month, we'll equip you with practical tools, updates, and ways to make a difference right from where you are. Because when thousands of us take small, intentional steps together, we create a movement that's louder than the silence exploitation depends on. Together, we can create a world where safety is standard, where every child grows up informed, empowered, and free. Thank you.
You've just heard from survivors, brave voices who turn their pain into purpose, from leaders shaping policy to frontline workers on the ground, and families who've lived through the unthinkable. You've seen the scale of the problem and the strength of the response. But this moment, it's not just about what we've heard, it's about what we choose to do next. Because here's the reality. Injustice doesn't rest. It doesn't pause to take a breath. But neither do we. Every child who is at risk, every parent searching for answers, every survivor waiting to be restored, they are not statistics. They are sons and daughters. They are future artists, leaders, teachers, and athletes. They are someone's everything. And they deserve a world where their safety isn't a privilege, but a promise. We are not powerless in the face of the crisis. We have the resources, we have the tools, and we have you. And you, watching right now, you are not here by accident. Maybe you're a parent, maybe a teacher, maybe a business leader, a student, or maybe even a survivor yourself. Whatever your story is, you have a part to play. Because when each of us takes that next right step, when we lean in, speak out, give generously, and act boldly, we create a tidal wave of change that no darkness can hold back.
So today, we're asking you to do two things. Firstly, become a Freedom sponsor. Your monthly gift fuels the ongoing work of prevention, protection, and restoration. It's the most strategic, sustainable way to fight human trafficking and online exploitation. It creates long-term safety, it strengthens our global response, it brings hope, healing, and justice. Secondly, take the Freedom Pledge. Commit to taking action each month. When you sign the pledge, we'll equip you with the tools and resources to make a real impact, right where you are alongside thousands of others around the world. Whether you commit to give, to act, or to both, your next step matters. This is how we build a safer future. This is how we protect children. This is how we fight for freedom together. Join us, become a Freedom sponsor, and take the pledge. And let's ensure the next child is protected.
Let me be clear, this fight is winnable. I believe that with everything in me.
The reality is, all that we are talking about is hidden, but yet in plain sight.
The world may say this is impossible, that this injustice is too big to overcome, that the systems are too broken. But I've seen what happens when ordinary people show up and take action.
Our lives are like a ripple effect. Every decision we make matters.
Let's be the generation that didn't just know what was happening, but the generation that stood up, spoke out, and said, not one more child, not one more victim, not one more life lost to this injustice.